In the heart of a vast, moonlit forest, lived a wolf named Orion. Unlike the other wolves in his pack, who reveled in the thrill of the hunt and the strength of the pack, Orion had a peculiar hobby. He was a collector of stars. Now you might be wondering, how does a wolf collect stars? Well, he didn't pluck them from the sky, of course. His collection was one of a different kind. Every night, when the forest fell into a hush and the moon cast its silvery glow, Orion would leave his den. He'd wander through the whispering pines and across the shimmering meadows, his eyes fixed on the celestial tapestry above. He wasn't looking for prey. He was looking for reflections. His first star was found in a perfectly still puddle after a summer rain. The water was so clear it looked like a piece of the night sky had fallen to earth. There, floating on its dark surface, was a single brilliant star. Orion gazed at it for what felt like hours, mesmerized by its tiny, perfect light. He didn't disturb the water. He simply memorized its beauty, storing it in his heart. That was his first collected star. From then on, his collection grew. He found a star trapped in a dewdrop clinging to a spider's web, trembling like a captured diamond. He saw a whole constellation shimmering on the smooth, polished surface of a riverstone. He even found a star twinkling in the eye of a wise old owl who perched on a branch above him, the two of them sharing a silent, knowing moment under the vast cosmos. The other wolves didn't understand. "Why do you waste your time, Orion?" They'd scoff. "Chasing shadows and reflections. There are rabbits to chase, territories to mark. What good are these useless stars of yours?" Orion would just smile. He couldn't quite explain the joy it brought him. These weren't just reflections. They were little pockets of magic, reminders of the immense beauty that surrounded them every single day and every single night. While his pack saw only mud puddles, damp webs, and old rocks, Orion saw a gallery of celestial art. One winter was particularly harsh. The snow fell thick and heavy, blanketing the forest in a monotonous white. The clouds were a constant, gloomy ceiling, hiding the moon and the stars for weeks on end. Food was scarce, and the mood of the pack grew as bleak as the weather. The wolves huddled together, their spirits low, their world reduced to a cold, gray struggle for survival. The forest had lost its magic. One evening, huddled in the gloom of the main den, a young cub whimpered, "I miss the moon. I can't even remember what the stars look like." The other wolves grumbled in agreement. A sense of hopelessness had settled over them. It was then that Orion knew it was time to share his collection. "I have stars," he said softly. The other wolves looked at him, confused. "Don't be ridiculous, Orion," the pack leader grumbled. "There are no stars. There is only this endless gray." But Orion didn't argue. He led them out of the den, not far, just to a small clearing. The air was frigid, and the silence was heavy. He took them to a thicket of fir trees, their branches laden with snow. "Look," he whispered, pointing his nose toward a branch. "Look closely." He gently shook a branch. A cascade of fine powdery snow drifted down, and in the faint, diffused light, each tiny ice crystal caught the gloom and sparkled for a fleeting moment. They glittered and danced in the air, 1,000 tiny momentary stars. The pack fell silent. They had seen snow fall 1,000,000 times, but they had never seen it like this. Next, Orion led them to the edge of the frozen river. The ice was thick and opaque, but along the edge, where the water still trickled underneath, intricate frost patterns had formed on the surface. "Look," Orion said again. He pointed to the feathery, swirling patterns. They looked like frozen galaxies, like swirling nebulae captured in ice. The wolves stared, their breath turning to mist in the cold air. They were seeing the familiar frozen river with new eyes. Finally, he brought them to a large, dark rock face where seeping water had frozen into a sheet of ice. Orion looked at his packmates. "We see our reflections every day," he said. "But what do you really see?" He gestured to the ice. In the dim light, their own eyes reflected back at them. And within each dark, wild pupil, a tiny spark of life flickered. A miniature star of their own vitality, of their own spirit, shining back at them from the darkness. A profound quiet settled over the pack. They stood there for a long time, not looking at the sky, but at the world around them. They saw the sparkling dance of snow, the galactic patterns in the frost, and the starlight within each other's eyes. The cold didn't feel so biting anymore. The gray world was suddenly filled with subtle, shimmering light. Orion hadn't brought the stars back to the sky, but he had shown them that the stars had never really left. They were everywhere in the snow, in the ice, in each other. They just had to learn how to see them. From that day on, things began to change. The wolves still hunted and they still marked their territory. But now they did it with a different perspective. They'd pause to admire the morning frost on a blade of grass. They'd watch the sunset paint the snow-covered peaks in fiery colors. The young cubs would search for Orion's stars in puddles and dewdrops. Orion's collection had become the pack's treasure. He taught them that beauty isn't something you have to travel far to find. It's not always in the grand, obvious gestures of the sky. More often, it's hidden in the small, quiet corners of our world, waiting to be noticed. It's in the way light hits a single drop of water, the intricate design of a snowflake, or the simple, unwavering spark of life in a friend's eye. The wolf who collected stars taught his pack that the world is full of magic, if you only choose to look for it. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like, and consider subscribing for more tales from the heart of the forest. I hope you find some stars in your world today. See you next time.